Hi, I'm Kylie and welcome to this week's episode of Money, 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 where we cut out the jargon and talk about all things financial. Hi and welcome back. In today's episode, we've got with us Brody, a first home buyer who's got a lot of questions to ask. So I've brought in my friend and colleague, Susan Lapidi, and Sue's going to help answer some of those for him. Brody, let's start with this list that you've got on your phone.
All right, so the first thing is that why should I use a mortgage broker? Why wouldn't I just go directly to a bank or another financial institution?
Great question. Sue, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, if you go to a bank, you have to fit the bank's criteria and you've only got their products on offer. Whereas if you go to a broker, first of all, they'll do all the legwork for you. And secondly, because they have access to over 30 banks, then they can find the right bank that suits your needs.
So saves you a lot of heartache and a lot of time, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
You're going to do the running around. Works for me.
Perfect.
All right, so should we basically buy an established home? Should we build a new home? As in, that's a big thing which comes up.
And that's a tricky question. I don't think there's any right or wrong. What are your thoughts, Sue?
No, I think that's a bit of a preference thing. So in the end, if you want something new where you can choose what you want in your house and you're happy to wait, because obviously it takes a lot longer when you're building, then you could build. But if you're after instant gratification, which most people are nowadays, perhaps established is a good way to go.
Tricky one to answer.
All right, so thank you. So as in, now, next question, while I scroll through my sizable list. So do banks have a required size that the property must actually be in terms of square meters? So as in, or can I buy any property size?
An unusual question for a first home buyer to ask, but a really relevant one. What's the criteria for the banks on that?
As far as a strata unit, it usually needs to be 50 square metres as the smallest, and that can include the garage or car space and any verandas. And then if you're looking at acreage, most banks prefer 5 acres or less. Once you start going over 5 acres, then it's usually specialised type of lending.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So, and now, as in, do we need a settlement agent or is it just an extra expense that we don't really need?
Well, we do cover off with a settlement agent later on in the next episode, but Suze, what's your thoughts?
Definitely need a settlement agent. You can't do it on your own. There's a lot of things that you will miss out on. So a settlement agent will make sure that the titles are correct. They do all the checks for water and shire. They attend settlement for you. They break down all the fees and costs and save you doing all that time. It's pretty complicated. So better that you get a settlement agent than not.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So, as in now, another thing is that my partner is in a casual job. So does that matter? So as in, is that going to cause an issue?
So many people in casual jobs these days that's a great point to actually raise.
It depends how long you've been in your casual job for. So if you've been in your job for over 6 months and in the same industry for more than 2 years, then generally that's okay. But if you've only been in your job for 6 months but haven't been in that same line of industry for more than 6 months, then that could create a problem. Banks are a lot better when it comes to that, but really you definitely need at least 6 months. Most banks want 12 if you're casual and it's the first time that you're in that type of industry.
Okay,
All right.
Cool.
Does that include the lender's mortgage insurers as well? Because that's normally involved once you borrow over 80%, you go into lender's mortgage insurance, which is a whole different subject. But can that have a bearing as well on casual basis?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely want the 2 years in the industry. So 6 months with most banks, but 2 years in the industry if you're over 80%.
Okay, all right, cool. So as in now, and another thing, because you mentioned LMI, lender's mortgage insurance. So as in, so basically if I've only got a 10% deposit in order to get started, as in, am I going to be hit with any fees or anything like that because I've only got such a small percentage up front?
Well, it's good to see you've got the jargon down already, Brody. LMI, as it is commonly called, is actually lender's mortgage insurance. And you need that when you're borrowing more than 80% of the actual purchase price of the property. What's your views on that in regard to how much deposit you need, Sue?
Well, if you've only got 10% deposit, you're going to have to pay mortgage insurance or lender's mortgage insurance, and you're going to have to pay for fees on top of that. So in reality, you need 15% deposit because it's around 5% for the fees on top, which covers stamp duty and any rates and taxes. Now, as a first home buyer, up to $430,000, you actually get stamp duty paid for by the government. That's part of the first homeowners grant.
That's under current West Australian?
Definitely under current West
So around
Australian.
the rest of the country, it could be a little bit different.
And that's for established, okay? So between $430,000 and $530,000, then they pay part of it. Once you get to a purchase price of $530,000, then you have to pay the full amount of stamp duty, okay? If you're buying, if you're building, right, on the other hand, then you can buy a block of land up to $300,000 and the stamp duty is all covered for you, right? And then you can build your house at whatever value it is, okay? Now, again, still needing your 10% deposit. If that's what you've got, then you would have to pay mortgage insurance on that, whether it was building or buying.
Sorry,
Established.
butting in. But so the minimum deposit for a first home buyer is 5% plus fees generally, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you could borrow a little bit more if you wanted to. And there's also various lenders in state to state that will take less deposit. That's, for an example, Keystart here in WA, you can get away with the 2%,
Yep.
but they have a whole lot of other criteria. So you really need to check with your mortgage broker to see whether you fit with that or not.
Yes, they do, definitely.
Next one.
Oh, cool. All right. So now, does the first homeowners grant work for any property I want to buy?
Pretty much.
So
As long as it fits within the criteria that we talked about before,
Yep.
with the 50 square metres,
Yep.
5 acres or less, generally speaking, as long as you've got your deposit.
Is it different
Sweet,
from
awesome.
construction and buying established? And we're talking again WA here. Other states, you can either contact us for more information or contact someone in your local state.
The only difference is that for construction right now, you actually do get a grant of $15,000, and that is only available for this year, calendar year, that the government has bought out. So if you build, you get your stamp duty up to the $300,000 for the block, and then you get $15,000 as a grant. Whereas if you buy established, you only get the stamp duty up to $430,000, and then between $430,000 and $530,000, it's a subsidised amount. But there's no grant.
Okay, so as in now, not sure if you'll know off the top of your head, but if I want to buy a property for $430,000, what will the stamp duty be on that? And is it worthwhile me building a new house with a 15 grand?
Sometimes that's
Thing?
the decider on your previous question about do you go established or do you
Yeah.
do construction.
Okay.
That actually is the decider sometimes for people.
Oh, that's interesting. That I didn't know. Oh, cool. So as in, and now, can I be gifted my deposit? So say, can I get, say, basically my dad in order to put down the as in deposit or transfer me the cash and I'll pay it?
Any type of deposit that you put in, right, as far as the bank is concerned, you need 5% minimum saved over 3 months. Okay, that's the minimum requirement.
Yep.
So if you were having funds gifted to you, I would say that you would need to put them into your bank account and add to those on a weekly basis or fortnightly or monthly, depending on how you get paid, over another 3 months, like over a 3-month period, so that you've met the bank's qualifications or criteria.
Oh, cool.
So yes, they can gift you the funds, but you still need to have saved it or added to what's there over a 3-month period.
So you still need to do your own work in
Yes.
addition to any help that you're going to get?
Yes.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
All right. As in, now, is it better to have a mum or a dad as a guarantor? Can I use my parents as a guarantor? As in, would that fix any qualms the bank might have in relation to securing finance?
Now, we're certainly seeing those questions asked more and more often about guarantors, aren't we?
We are indeed. A guarantor will save you the mortgage insurance, I suppose, because what happens is your parents would offer their property, one of their either their own occupied property or an investment property if they have it, as security. And because you're offering that as security, the bank sees that rather than you borrowing as a 95% or 90% based on your 10% deposit, that you are now doing an 80% lend. So you wouldn't have to pay the mortgage insurance. Okay?
Okay.
Does that...
But they still
Sort of
like to
answer.
see some savings, don't they?
Oh,
I mean, they're not
yeah.
keen, from my experience and probably from yours as well, they're not keen for you to get a guarantor, but you've done no savings at all. They
Yeah.
still want to see some runs on the board.
Definitely.
generally.
It always looks better.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you're going to be making a mortgage repayment that's higher than your rent or equal to your rent, then the banks like to know that you can either save the difference or at least save that amount of money that equals a repayment. So it's good for you too to be able to have something to put towards it. So
That way you know what you're getting into before
Yes.
you actually...
Yeah. It's all
sign
about
the dotted line.
savings and budgeting.
yeah, it's a lifetime commitment really, 30 years.
30 years. Bloody hell.
It's a lifetime.
All right, cool. In that case, thank you very much.
That's great. Great lot of questions, Brodie, and I think that's probably what we find we get asked mostly all the time, what you've asked. So well done. Well researched.
Oh, cheers.
And good luck with your future purchases.
Well,
Good
thank
luck.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for watching Money, Money, Money. If you liked this video, hit the red subscribe button. If you'd like to know more information, you can follow us on Facebook or go to our website, linked in the information box below.